convention space. We actually had it on the grounds of the Bangalore Palace, which is a huge area, where we set up huge halls of our own. In fact, the entire size of our setup over there rivaled that of what BangaloreIT.com, which used to be on the same grounds, used to be in years before. So we had 3,000 attendees. We had close to 200 talks. We had 30-plus birds of feather sessions. These are the ones that we know about. Okay, there were a whole lot of things that are happening under the trees and you're sitting somewhere in the middle of the ground or around the coffee machine or whatever that we don't even know about. This was by all, we got a lot of press coverage. We had TV cameras running around over there, filming and interviewing people. We had a lot of big names over there, and we had one huge problem. This was not what we wanted of the event. It became a bit of a carnival. It went out of control. It was almost impossible to manage. We were a very small team, about 20-odd people who were running that. A much larger team runs the event over here. We were just 20 people. And that also, all of us had full-time jobs. And it was really, really difficult to handle an event of that sort. So we said, we have to make changes. For us, this chaos, and chaos is good, I know that, but this was chaos as an uncontrollable. We were not achieving anything anymore. Needed to go away. We needed to have more focus. So when we announced FOSDOT in 2006, which took place a short while ago, about a month and a half ago, we changed the focus of the event intentionally. More technology focus, and we almost got rid of all newbie talks. Now, this was very controversial. It got us into a hell of a lot of trouble. A lot of people set up and said, you are abandoning the newbies. What we said is, what are the lugs doing? They are doing precisely as they're teaching newbies about Linux. They're getting them started all year round. Plus, we are not the only event in town. We are not the only event in the country. There are lots of other events which happen across the country all year round. Why should we duplicate the efforts of all these people? So people who are new to Linux would attend one of those events or would attend a lug meeting, get started. And people who wanted to learn more about free and open source software, higher technologies, more advanced technologies, would come to FOSS.in. So our target was that we wanted to limit it to 1,500 people, exactly half of what we got last year. This had a lot of, the number itself had practical reasons. As I said, the place that we prefer to hold the event in is a convention space that can seat at the most 1,200 people. Plus we have a FOSS Expo outside, where we expected about 300 odd people would be milling around. What happened is that on day one we got 2,000 people, and which played utter chaos with our planning, because we had assumed 1,500 people had pre-registered, and then another 500 odd walked in, which of course was total chaos as far as food is concerned. The entire management team of the event went without lunch that day. So, I mean, primarily because there wasn't any food anymore for us. Some of the speakers didn't get food to eat. It was that, I mean, it was really, really chaotic. So we have to fine-tune this as well. We have to make expectations clear. Some people came to the event and expected something that they wouldn't get. Some people came along and they wanted much more advanced stuff, which we could have offered if we hadn't taken on, lower-end talks. And probably next year, that's exactly what we are going to do, if the event is in Bangalore itself. One of the ways in which we can control the number of people who are going to attend the event to make sure that it's more focused is by actually taking it out of Bangalore. It just happens that Bangalore is the Silicon Valley of India. Anyone who is in IT is in Bangalore. By just moving the event to a nearby city like Mysore or Hyderabad or Chennai, we would probably be able to halve the number of people who would come and attend the event. But then we have to see, because finally it's not our decision where the event is. We did a poll actually, asked people, where would you like the event to take place? And of course you can guess what happened. Everyone wanted it in Bangalore again. So we had, over the years, a huge number of prominent international speakers. I'm quite proud of that list. He has a partial list, starting with Alan Cox and Jonathan Corbett and Harold Wilte and lots of people. But what we are really proud about is not this list. Yeah. What? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't put it, I just cut and pasted it from the website. Hi, by the way. What we are really proud of is not this list. We are very grateful that these people came and spoke at the event. What we are really proud of is the fact that we had hundreds of Indian speakers. In fact, this year, we drove up the number of Indian speakers to such an extent that the opening keynote of the event, which is traditionally by some big name, last year, for example, we had Alan Cox opening the event. This year, we had a very prominent Indian FOSS contributor, Suparna Bhattacharya, coming and giving the opening keynote address. For us, this was a success basically on two fronts. One is, we could do it, and it was convincing. No one questioned the decision. And secondly, the effect of having an Indian speaker in India coming and opening the largest free and open source event in India and giving the opening speech had the effect of galvanizing a whole lot of people out there, because they said, it is possible, we can do it. Now, the problem we have had in India has been over all these years that we are seen as a people who consume free and open source software but don't contribute to it, which is not strictly true. A few months ago, I was here at a Wizards of OS conference, and I explained that when I first went out looking for contributors in India to any kind of free and open source software project, I could find 7. In a country of 1.2 billion people, I could find 7 contributors. It is only when I really started scraping really hard and started pushing it, I would find others who have also contributed. That scene has actually changed quite a lot right now. The fact, these hundreds of Indian speakers, many of these speakers are actual contributors themselves. And that is what FOSS.in had set out to do. If ever we wanted to ask, have we succeeded, we just have to look at the number of projects that have people from India, in India, involved in them today. For us, this is very, very important. Now, these hundreds of speakers came from academia, came from the government, came from the industry. It came from all spheres of life. And they were all sitting together, for many of the people, for the industry people, who may have been working with Linux for many years. It was a revelation, sitting over there and having this community effect thrust upon them. And many of them afterwards wrote and saying that I have worked with Linux for so many years, but I had never actually felt being part of a community, but here I felt. Now remember, this is still an event that doesn't ram home ideology or freedom or anything else. Okay? It's still an event where people point a finger and say, you are bad because you don't go and teach people about the freedom. But what we still managed to do was get a sense of community across. And that is, for us, more important. If we can do one thing in a given amount of time, then this would be it. So what is the situation right now in India? As we stand, FOSS in academia is established. I mean, it's pretty hard to get away from free and open source software if you are in universities, if you are working in biotechnology kind of stuff, or if you're working with anything that requires any sort of IT or computing. So, I mean, that's a given. And the IITs, the Indian Institutes of Technology and Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore, all of them are filled with people who are using Linux throughout the place. 80% of the machines running in the Indian Institute of Science itself are all Linux or FreeBSD based. The state of FOSS in the industry is a bit undefined over here. Everyone is using it, but they're using it like a product. They're using it because they derive value out of that, but they don't quite understand what they're using. And this is the target that we have been getting, and so that they understand where it's coming from. This is not something where you spend money and you get something, and then if it doesn't work, you sue someone. So we have been trying to get industry to understand what this is once upon. Last year, when we renamed ourselves to FOSS.in, we actually ran into the problem that some sponsors backed out because they didn't want to be associated with the term free, because it was sending, apparently, the wrong message across to their customers. Because free as in gratis, okay? That was a concept that didn't go down very well with supposedly some of their customers and some of their clients. They actually backed out of that. But this year, the very same sponsors came forward and donated liberally to the event. Our event runs completely on sponsorship money. None of what happens at the event is paid for with money which comes from people who attend the event. The money they pay just goes towards feeding them. That's it. So the industry is beginning to wake up and understand what this whole FOSS concept is about. More importantly, the government is beginning to understand that. Once upon a time, we used to have this problem where people used to say, the government is not doing enough for free and open source software. They should make free and open source software mandatory. This is in 2002. 26th of December 2002, I attended a meeting in Delhi where there were actually people sitting at the table and pounding the table and saying the government should enforce the use of free and open source software within the government and all government divisions. And me and another friend of mine, Kishore Bhargav, were sitting over there as the sole representatives of the free and open source community of India. And we actually said we don't want that. Because the minute you do that, you're creating another monopoly. We don't want that monopoly. There was total chaos in the room. There were 80 big shot representatives of industry, academia, everything you can possibly think of the government. And the community was telling them that they didn't want to have exclusive status. What we told them is all we want is a level playing field. And because we took them so off guard, they actually asked us to submit recommendations on how to go about it. How does one create a level playing field? That report is, you can go and check on my site, atulchitnis.net. If you go in the writings part of it, you can download the PDF from there. Basically, we told the government, go on a functional basis. When you create your tenders, create functional tenders. Don't say, must be able to open Microsoft Word documents. Don't say, has to be able to run a Microsoft Windows or whatever. State functional requirements, and then evaluate all the offerings on that basis. And finally, evaluate on price. So since this was very fair, the government wanted to have applications that did certain things for them and would always do it for them. So they did that, and over time, today, if you look at tenders that come out from the government of India, they do not specify products anymore. They specify functionality. For us, that's pretty much of a victory. So if you list the successes we have gone through, we have increased awareness, naturally. I mean, that's what we started off with. And we have it across the country. Once upon a time, we were focused in small sections like in Bangalore, because it's the IT capital of the country, in Bombay, Mumbai, which is the commercial capital of the country, in Delhi, which is the political capital of the country. But because of what we have been doing, we have been reaching a whole lot of people across the entire country. In schools, in colleges, in companies, in governments, in industries, we have been reaching all over the place. We have seen increased use. If you go and look at the IT infrastructure in most companies, I already told you about that little report that Microsoft had commissioned, you will find that they're using Linux or FreeBSD servers throughout. Backends are typically all free and open source software based. Firefox is